Now you're watching the cross-migration take place, where the Hispanics are taking all those classes in California and whatnot to learn plumbing and heating and air conditioning repair and business classes and whatnot, and black folks standing still while these people are passing by you. And when they get into the position that you're in now, there won't be anything for you to do except go down. And what are you going to do when you have nothing else? And they sit up here and tell you, this is a job and you're going to take it. Then
exactly. I believe a lot of our folk are paralyzed right now, and they're either paralyzed by this, this bling bling of Obama, or paralyzed into, let me run to the Alex Jones concepts and the pyramids and the Marrows and Three Moons and all, or they're paralyzed into debating each other, or they're paralyzed into gangsterism. Unfortunately, the rest of the world is not paralyzed. They're moving, okay? And they're not going to wait for black folk to go ahead and say, okay, because they could care less about civil rights. They care less about, the only thing they care more about is their own people and their own kind. And if we become a liability, it's going to be some serious damage, and that cannot happen.
I was telling everybody last night about how these people who are coming from the other side of the world, they're not going to give a damn about you and your 5 bastard babies. They're not going to, these people who are buying up all this real estate, hundreds of houses at a time in Detroit because they're available to get bought for hundreds, thousands, or even hundreds of dollars. These men are not coming over here concerned about you and your bastard babies. They're not coming over here concerned about you and your hairstyle. They're not coming over here to make friends with you. These are foreigners and strangers from the other side of the world concerned about one thing: return on investment. And that is it. And if that means clearing all you niggas out, then guess what? He's going to say, he's going to come back here in 6 months, not 6 years. He's going to come back in 6 months and say, so why aren't they gone yet? And that's all he's going to say. And the city fathers are going to have a choice to make. This man is talking about building $1 million condos, and you sons of guns are out here with no jobs, no prospects, no motivation, sitting like bumps on a tree stump. That's an easy choice to make at that point. When this man says, okay, it's me or them, it's an easy choice to make at that point. It's very simple to make at that point. Waiting on other people to somehow have their largesse rub off on you, and somehow it's going to save you. These people are not going to be concerned about that. Furthermore, you were talking about the Asians before and whatnot. These are people who come from nations of genocide. They come from nations where people get wiped out. If you're Vietnamese, you remember Pol Pot. Down there in New Orleans, they talk about him to this day. If you're from Vietnam, you know who Pol Pot is. And if you're from China, you remember Chairman Mao. And if you're old enough in Japan, you remember Hirohito. There's still bad blood to this day between the Chinese and the Japanese because of the geisha girls. Bad blood between them to this day about that. And these are people who come from nations where genocide is just the way things are by the millions. And you think they give a damn about your black ass?
There you go. Because if they experienced it, they know exactly what it's like, and they won't let it happen to them without them trying to take over. And that's just common sense. If you want to, it's a zero-sum game, and black folks should have to adopt a militaristic attitude, not only just with the so-called Tea Party militarism. I'm talking about financial. I'm talking about, even our language and the way we've given up so much intellectual property that the world knows what we do sometimes before we know what we're doing. We've given them our handshakes. We've given them the way that we talk. We've given them our hairstyles, our dances, our music. We've given up, so much intellectual property. We have nothing to hide. It's unfortunate, but if we're going to do this, a lot of it has to be a cultural barrier. A lot of it has to be, when I'm amongst these Hispanics, they speak their language, and they speak certain things that they don't want others that are not within them to hear and to know. Same thing with Asians. It's a cultural barrier. It's a way of saying, look, you ain't coming into this fence. We don't care. We'll hang out and we'll do whatever you got to do, and you're the job site or whatever. But when it comes to this you're not included, because we intend to conquer you. That's the mentality black folk I'm pretty sure we're going to be forced into it. I hope that we haven't given up so much of ourselves, fighting other people's wars, fixing other people's spawn or children, watching other people's, and fixing their lives, i.e. Oprah. I hope we haven't done so much of that that we have no more resource to do it for ourselves.
Well, brother, I'm just going to end here by asking you the question. In the 21st century, we in intelligent black society, what do we do?
There's 7 tenets of a nation, and we start now. We start doing it immediately. And this is why I have to tell the youngsters, because there is a disconnect between those that are older and the young. I mean, there's such a disconnect that's unreal. 7 tenets. You've got agriculture. You've got international trade, security, finance, health, education, and media. And you've got I can't remember the other one, but basically what these 7 things are things that you have to control, at least one of them, to be a nation. If it's security, I think security is the other one. Whatever it is, if you can control that and commoditize it, therefore you can get money from other nations or other people to go ahead and build those other 6 tenets of a nation. For instance, if you're going to get into the security field, if blacks get into there, if we do that, we can use that, commoditize it. Instead of fighting other people's wars for free, then we can take a large premium to build our agriculture, to build our education, to build the things that make folks self-reliant. Whoever owns those 7 tenets, because that's what it takes to build a nation, whoever owns those, at least one of those, has a chance. Whoever owns all of them is gonna control. Black folk not only don't own any of those, okay, we've given all of them out to everyone else to control us with. So we need to take over, at least if it's going to be education, let's take over our own education system, so therefore we can commoditize whatever we teach this way, and we're not giving it out in intellectual property, we're commoditizing it and making sure we get a premium, so we can go ahead and build up our media, or we can build up our agriculture, or build up our security, or we can start doing international trade and working with other nations. So we can go ahead and start building up our health, so we have our own clinics, and we can start building up our own financial sector. It's very simple. You could do it within your home, or you could do it as a nation.
If you've got the motivation to do so.
Exactly.
But, of course, we're going to get motivated, brother. I mean, understand, I believe that, you don't live 65 million years by accident. You live 65 million years because at some point throughout all these millennia, you learned how to get it. Even if you were stupid for a while, you figured out how to get smart. And understand something. We're going to get this lesson, okay? We're going to get this. Now, whether we get it now while we have time or whether we get it after it reaches a critical mass, that's going to be the only real question. Whether you get it now when there's 30 million of you or whether you get it after there's not very many of you left.
Exactly.
It's going to happen one way or the other. So you can do it standing on your boots or you can do it under his. But you're going to do this.
Exactly. Oh, yes.
Well, thank you very much for your call here, brother. Appreciate you checking in with us. Let me get a black first.
Black first, my brother.